Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. I saw that the Duchess of Advocacy was on earlier, and I was having a little issue with my thumbnail. Otherwise, we would have seamlessly have gone from one to the other. But I had a little thumbnail issue, so it took a little bit longer. But I think that's really cool the way that as one was finishing, the other had the hand extended to grab the baton. Um, but that's the way we work here in the Sussex squad. We're very much in sync in comparison to those other people, those derangers and haters. They have no synchronicity. They are just a ragtag group of very hateful, bigoted people. Um, and but for the fact that their hearts are full of vinegar and salt and anything else that might jar the senses, they wouldn't have anything at all. So thank goodness for the Sussex squad. Kevon Sim says this new government ain't playing no games. Amen to that. And thank you so much for the super chat. Is that my first Kavan Slim super chat for 2026? I think it is. Either way, I'll take it. Also, we have Vivi Mack. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And also, let me say to Mary H, thank you so much for being here first. All right. Hey, Lydia Washington, Mad World, Lola Love, Lucy Wynn, yes, and happy Sunday to you too, avid reader. Connie Balmer! Hey, Connie Balmer. And Emerald Durr. Let me see who else is here. Perlina Answer, Rosalind Wade, and a host of others. Hey, Miss Viv, Brenda Gray, Marie Fabian. All right. Veronica Quick. All right. Very good. So, Royal Protection. Royal Protection. Rayvac. Rayvac. I don't never pronounce it the same way twice. But yeah, it's a good thing. Not everyone is going to be pleased about it because there are some of you who just don't ever want them to go back over there. But I do hope that you will trust the Sussexes to do what's best for their family. We're free to love them, but it's none of our business how they come to their decisions and conclusions. Mostly, we should just pray for them. I said it once, and I'll say it a million times if I must. Um, that institution bears some type of consideration. You can't just ignore it. It's like when the U.S. government loans money to some corporations, that term too big to fail uh, is a thing. Like at one time, General Motors, too big to fail. Right now, Boeing, too big to fail. That means that they are just so essential to our economy. You just cannot let those things fail. Well, the Sussexes are part of a family that has very far reaching tentacles. And you know what they say, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I'm not saying that the family should be considered enemies, but I'm not saying turn your back on them. That's what I'm saying. But that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. Um, But I do believe this is cause for celebration, if for no other reason that on principle, Prince Harry was very correct by pursuing this because it is part of his birthright. It is not only the family security, but it's his birthright. There will never be a day when Prince Harry is not Prince Harry. That is practically his name. For all intent and purposes, his first name is Prince, right? Or let's say his first name is Prince Harry. It's two parts. Prince Harry. He's always going to be Prince Harry. And I'm kind of ghetto, and I feel like I want all I got coming. You know, understand what I'm saying? When I go to a hotel, I don't take the towels and stuff like that. But if there is shampoo, I need that shampoo. If there's a toothbrush and I need that toothbrush and toothpaste. I want everything I got coming. If there's an extra roll of toilet paper, guess what? That's my new favorite brand. I want everything I got coming for that amount of money that I'm spending. So, in the spirit of that, I want Harry to have everything that he wants from that institution, considering how much he has given them. And on a more ominous note, um, he lost his mother to that institution. Okay, so you don't just walk away from that. You don't just walk away from that. They don't let you just walk away. They're always going to be preoccupied with what you're doing, where you at, who you're talking to. He deserves his armed protection. He deserves to have, he has a right to take his children to see the place where he was born, the place where he was raised, to walk and run and jump and play in the same places that he could and has done as a child. That is his birthright. And we want him to have all that he has coming as part of that rotten, inadequate uh, institution called the monarchy. Mad World says the UK is Harry and Archie's home. There's nothing like taking your children to where you were born and seeing them running around. Are we related? Are we connected in some way? I mean, I didn't even see that before I said it. That's how I felt. But you are absolutely right. Connie Balmer, thank you so much for the super sticker. And you know what, Connie Balmer? Just before I started, I jumped up and went in the living room and I went and got this. That is some remnants of that delicious chocolate from Switzerland. How about that? I'm like, I need a little pick me up. Ain't got time for coffee. I'm going to grab one of those. Okay, but thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you so much for being a member of Royal Sussex. Kevon Slim says, how do we know the Sussexes aren't in the UK right now? Hello. How do we know they're not there? You know what, Kevon? If you are correct, I am going to heap so much praise upon you for your insight because that is very, very possible. We just don't know. We have not seen them in a minute, have we? Huh? We have not seen them in a minute, so that is something to consider. Let me see. Verda Sanchez. Oh my God, Verda. Verda Sanchez. I feel the tear ducts. I haven't seen that name in forever. Where have you been? Do not get me all emotional right now. Do not do that to me. Amen to that. Do not do that to me. I know for sure that I haven't spoken to you since last year. since last year. And I'm always thinking about you. So anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. But do not sneak up on me like that. Send me a warning or something. Okay? Send me a warning. I know. I know. And see there? You're getting me all emotional, and I got work to do. Anyway, we're glad that you're here. We're glad to hear from you. Um, okay. All right. Oh, okay. Oh, praise the Lord for that. Well, I'm glad everything is moving in the right direction for you. And thank you so much for stopping by to let us know. I see Lorraine Esmeralda says, I am happy for Harry. All I need them to do when they go over there is to keep one eye open and one eye closed and do not eat anything from their family rather. Basically, move with caution. There you go. And eat takeaway. Yeah. Eat some takeaway. I agree with that. You don't want nothing from them kitchens. We're in a better place, but we ain't all together there. You know what I'm saying? We ain't all together there. Thank you so much for saying that. And thank you for being a member of Royal Sussex. Yep. It reminds me of a story of my grandmother that I have never shared. At least I don't think I have, but it has to do with that very thing, a very jealous family and her becoming suddenly unwell. Okay. Okay. So yes, I went through my selection of photos, and I was being messy. You know that I was being messy. I'm like, let me find just the right picture. I was being messy. Okay, I had to. Hey, Joseph Berno, Cynthia Henderson, welcome, welcome. So, before we go any deeper into that, um, Anthony Joshua, my brother's keeper, he tweeted today, I believe it was. It appears that he is with at least one of the families of one of his lost brothers. And, like I said, it's so upsetting that this tragedy has happened because he was on this trajectory with a whole new legions of fans around the world. And not that in any way that that's more important, because it's certainly not, but he gives a lot of people hope, right? And because of his character, the way he carries himself, um I don't care what race you are, he just seems like someone that you um almost like he's part of your family, and that he's not difficult to be proud of. So for that reason, it was just so it reminds you of how fragile life can be, right? That's what it is, I believe. For I'll speak for myself when I say that, but it reminds you of how fragile life can be. Just a split second um, decision where you are going to sit. They even said that he changed seats, and for his brothers that he lost, um, you know, the we definitely should not forget them. We should not forget them. We should not make this all about Anthony Joshua. So, um, prayers for the families of those gentlemen, and also prayers for his recovery mentally and physically. And there on the left side, you can see the two gentlemen in tuxedos. I apologize, I don't recall their names, but there's an outpouring of love and gratitude for their lives, support for their families, and I'm just glad to see that people are coming together in the various communities that they're part of, and it's not turning into anything weird. There's not a bunch of conspiracies that I'm aware of, although there's been murmuring and that kind of thing. But in this instance, I'm just going to say it was a very terrible, tragic accident, and I'm so glad to, to see Anthony Joshua. So, okay, just wanted to get that in there before we go on with the other stuff. So Prince Harry scores major security breakthrough that could open the door to Archie and Lilibet visiting King Charles. I know, I know, I know. I feel that little acid in the back of my throat saying that, but let's try to keep positive, shall we? Let's try to keep positive. I believe Abraham Lincoln said it best, with malice toward none. Let's try to be positive because, well, it's his family. It's his family. Cannot stress that enough. So, with that being said, let us. Okay, where is that one attached to that? Oh my goodness, did I lose the article? I think I did. Let me find it. I prefer Feminegra, but Feminegra has not hasn't posted the article yet. But we will see what Feminegra has to say about that tomorrow, because we trust Feminegra, right? Yeah, we'll get with her. In the meantime, we're just going to have to make do with People Magazine. Not that they're so great, but I don't want to use those other ones as a reference. Okay. All right. So, according to People Magazine, Prince Harry had a major win in his ongoing bid to restore his official UK security. A full scale review of his security by the official body that assesses how royals and VIPs are guarded is now underway by the UK government. It was reported on Monday, December the 8th, right? So that was what they said on Monday, December the 8th. It follows Harry's long running, high profile campaign to reinstate his full taxpayer funded security. Now, if we fast forward to today, um, not only is the Geo reporting this, but International Business Times, whoever the hell they are. But I want you to pay attention to something right here. So I went to AI and I said, AI, you know, Harry security. No, Prince Harry's UK taxpayer funded security has not been fully restored, despite recent reports of a review. He lost his appeal to reinstate automatic protection in late 2025, but the government agreed to reassess his threat level, a step he sees as a win, though the outcome of the review is pending and won't guarantee automatic funding. So, this is where they are. This is why I say do not just review the AI. The AI actually sources several articles and use that. The artificial intelligence writes the article or writes these paragraphs and releases it. And all it is gathering a consensus from other articles, right? Which is why I say cut out the middleman, because that's what AI is. Go and try to source at least 3 articles on your own, because if you stick with them, sometimes they're not updated or that kind of thing. So now, I'm going to go to the Times. Yeah, the London Times. Yeah, let's do the Times. So this article is from January 4th. Prince Harry set to regain automatic armed security in UK. The Duke of Sussex has won back police protection, which could lead to his children. They're they're preoccupied with are those children. I'm sick of it. Do you hear me? Sick. I'm sick of it. Stop thinking about Archie and Lily. But that's what it says, which could lead to his children visiting the king for the first time in years. The Duke of Sussex has won his fight for armed police protection when he visits the UK. It has been claimed. The Royal and the VIP Executive Committee, RAVAC, is said to have determined that Prince Harry meets the threshold for official protection, and a ruling in his favor is expected in a matter of weeks. So remember, a ruling in his favor is expected in a matter of weeks. Harry, uh, in May, lost a high profile legal claim against the government over the decision to remove his right to automatic taxpayer funded police protection. RAVAC, which overseen by the Home Office, launched uh, a fresh, that is, risk assessment after the Duke wrote to Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, in September, calling for a reappraisal. Now, I'm going to tell you, they have not done this since 2019. I repeat, they have not had any type of review or appraisal since 2019. That right there lets you know that whoever was in charge before was not serious. According to the Mail on Sunday, sources close to the Sussexes say that a reinstatement of armed security has been assured. It now, or should I say, it's now a formality. Sources at the Home Office have indicated that security is now nailed on for Harry, the sources said. The Duke has consistently argued that it is not safe for his family to visit the UK without 24-hour armed protection, which was withdrawn in 2020 after his decision to step back from his role as a working royal. Or, let me put a little something extra in there, it was withdrawn because he refused to remove a complaint. It has been alleged that he has refused to remove a complaint about one of Willie's cronies. That's the unofficial version, but the one that I'd send to believe is true. At present, he must inform the Metropolitan Police 30 days before arrival in the country in order to apply for a security review, which is carried out on a case by case basis. His lawyers have argued that this I'm sorry, that his manifestly inferior security has put his life at stake. Now, let's not forget, they said that there was someone who was a stalker around Prince Harry not long ago, right? Oh, as a matter of fact, that's what it says here. A recent demand for armed protection seemingly follows an incident with a stalker who had previously made online threats. The Duke was granted police protection for a 1 day trip to the UK in September for a children's charity event at the Royal Lancaster Hotel, during which the woman was able to enter a secure zone 2 days later, when Harry was without police protection during a visit to the Imperial College London, she got within a stone's throw of him and attempted to approach him. She was allegedly only prevented from doing so by a member of Harry's private security team. It was one of several security lapses that were included as evidence to be flagged to the risk management board that advises Rayback. Um, but let's really get to the essence of this. They do not want Harry over there. Who is they? William. William and Kate do not want the Sussexes over there. Um, Charles is in a position same as his mother. He's king. It doesn't matter whether he gets a little attention or a lot of attention. He's still the king. Willie, on the other hand, is the one who's preoccupied with Harry's profile, right? Jealous, very jealous of Harry's profile. Um, I'm sure that there is some feelings about Harry's profile from Clarence House, but not as great and certainly not as um, painful as what they are feeling over at Kensington Palace, where the Kensington crew are the ones who do the most of the leaking and briefing. We don't want to take away leaking and briefing from Clarence House. And leaking and briefing, it doesn't necessarily means that the principals are the ones doing it. It's just like in the old days, like the Downton Abbey days, and even now it still exists, where the household staff are more invested in the outcome than the actual family members, which is so odd, but it is also so true. Um, some of the most prudish behavior doesn't come from family members, it comes from the people that work from them. They are posturing, if you will, um, trying to make sure that they look like they are constantly thinking about their employer best interests. So it's a lot of play acting, but it's effective because, believe me, with the ego of some of those people in the House of Windsor, they cheerfully accept that type of behavior. And rarely do they punish people for hurting their family members, right? Rarely. As I've said in the past, I don't care if Meghan was the modern day Jack the Ripper. William's subordinates, William's courtiers, they are not family. His brother is his blood relative, and his brother's wife should always come before any of those flunkies. But it just does not work like that in that royal household. Now, there's been a lot of theories why William would want to protect certain, shall we say, tall, lanky, bearded, young, full of head full of hair young men that work in that institution. There's been speculation why he's so invested in protecting a certain physical type, right? Someone with dark hair, um, very thick, bearded, looks good in the suit. There seems to be some reason why he's always protecting those people. There seems to be a reason that he's always hiring those people. But that ain't none of our business. That ain't none of our business. But it becomes our business when those people are making life difficult for the Sussexes. That's when it becomes our business. I don't care who the Prince of Pegging is keeping company with. Leave Harry and Meghan alone. That's all we got to say. Leave them alone. Now, it is important, that is, it says here, its members are said to have decided that the Duke does meet the threshold for automatic protection, leaving Ravak with little choice but to grant his request. A source said that the only thing that could scupper this approval would now be an intervention from the palace. Notice how they made sure that you understand that the bottom line, the palace is responsible for the outcome. Only thing that could scupper this approval now would be an intervention from the palace, meaning that Charles could have sorted this out a long time ago. Even when his mother was alive and he was a regent in all but name only, this could have been sorted a long time ago. This is the times making sure that we all know that it was up to the palace and that they could have sorted this out a long time ago. Ravek includes security office officials, that is, from the Home Office, the Met, and the royal household. There are security officials, listen to this now, from the Home Office, from the Metropolitan Police, and from the royal household. Well, who dictates to the royal household? Charlie Windsor. Charlie Windsor. Like I said, this could have been sorted out a long time ago. They didn't want to sort it out. The Home Office, the Met Police, and the Royal Household, who advised the independent chairman on who should be given protection and the appropriate level. It's not even whether or not you get protection, it's the appropriate level. There's so much in that statement right there. Ravak includes officials from the Home Office, the Met, and the royal household who advised the independent chairman on who should be given protection and the appropriate level. Well, what do they need what do they need an independent chair for? If the independent chair has to take their advice, it may not be so independent. This is why Harry said, "Oh, you know what? This is so weird. Everything I'm about to say pops up next." Okay. The Home Office has legal responsibility for the committee's decision and successfully opposed the Duke's appeal in May. Speaking after his defeat, Harry told the BBC that the case surrounding his security was like a good old fashioned establishment stitch up. A good old fashioned establishment stitch up. It was stitched up. The fix was in. I think in the US, we usually say the fix was in. We found out that the fix was in. He called on Yvette Cooper, who was the Home Secretary at the time, to review the case very, very carefully and added, "I would ask the Prime Minister to step in." Harry has asked for Ravek to abide by his own rules. That a review should be conducted for each member of the royal family and each qualifying VIP each year. which I don't think is unreasonable. I think it's necessary, especially since Harry has not had a full review since 2019. The son of the head of state has not had a review since 2019. I don't care where Harry lives, whether he's in Newfoundland or Tierra del Fuego, Argentina. Harry deserves protection from the royal family, from his father's court, from his father's monarchy. He deserves protection. And I don't believe that he should ever have to pay for it. I don't care if he moved to Spokane, Washington. The protection should be guaranteed. And when he's in another country, then they need to, like, for instance, I know this may seem a bit excessive, but the palace should be in constant contact with the Secret Service, making sure that the Sussexes are very well protected. They wouldn't do anything less for any other official. There's a lot of people that live in the United States as students and receive armed protection. We don't talk about that, but it's true. And under any other circumstances, Harry would have that protection. But he's got a bitter Betty of a father who is mean and surly and just as shady as they come. That's why Harry said an establishment stitch up, because it certainly was. They pretend as though there's nothing I could do about it. That's Ravek. BS. And everybody knows it. And that one clown on what show is that? The guy that was with the GB News, the guy that wears glasses, I forget his name, a known Harry hater. He said, much to my surprise, that if anything happens to Prince Harry and his family, he himself said that um, that his father, well, not his father, but that well, did he say his father? Anyway, he said that that's his father's responsibility. That if anything should happen, that it falls upon his father, which was shocking to me that he would say that. But that's the way he felt about it. That was the rare moment of truth that he shared. He said what everyone else um, should be saying at the same time. That is their responsibility for Harry and his family's safety. And I don't care what it costs, and I don't care where he goes. Liz Truss, the 10-minute prime minister, receives a full Rayback protective service wherever she goes for the rest of her life. And I guarantee you, there's not much of a level of threat for Liz Truss, but that's what she gets for being prime minister for several months. Not even several, but for a few months. What's the difference? Stitch up. An old-fashioned stitch up. A ruling in the Duke's favor could pave the way for a reunion between the king and his grandchildren, Archie and Lilibet. That's Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. A source told the Mail on Sunday, if you knew about the kind of threats Harry and his family have been getting, then you would understand why he doesn't want to bring his kids over until protection is guaranteed. The King's last saw his. Oh, I don't care about that. A spokesman for the Sussexes declined to comment on security matters. A government official said the UK government protective security system is rigorous and proportionate. It is our long-standing policy not to provide details information on those arrangements, as doing so could compromise their integrity and affect individuals' security. I don't think Harry is going back as a working royal, but I do think he will be asked to do a little something here and there. Thank you, Kavan Slims. Um, yeah, I don't think there's any desire for on either side for him to go back as a working royal. I think some of the monarchists are the ones who want Harry to, I guess, bolster the image of the royal family of the monarchy. But I don't suspect that Harry in any way is interested. Um, However, if the request was made, I don't think he would refuse his father. I do not believe he would ever refuse his father if the request was made for him to um, do something for them. But let's just hope it doesn't come to that, because I just wouldn't trust it. I would not trust it. Yeah, I would not trust that institution, and I would not trust his father. Nope, I don't trust them. His father has always, I'm sorry, has already demonstrated that he cannot be fully trusted. Thank you for your comment. Is it Simone Black says, do you guys think that the reason why they revisit the security issue is because of the Invictus games? Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, that's got to be part of it. That has to play into it. Why now? I'm not sure, but that has to play into it. Plus, there's a new person at the home office, right? So there's a new sheriff in town. Harry has written a letter to whoever that person was. I said he's written a letter to that person, and as a courtesy, they have responded with the promise of a review. And then, of course, from that promise comes the news that the um, the Duke of Sussex has met every possible, thing to make that happen. So, since he has reached that threshold, as they said, then there's no reason to uh, wait to announce it for the Invictus games. This affects the Sussexes in real time. So the sooner that they make this official, the sooner that Harry can make plans for, what is it, 2027? He can make plans sooner rather than later. So it just makes sense to do that now. But still, it may have something to do with Invictus. That's for certain. I don't know what Charles' intention is for Harry in the future. And also, we don't know whether Charles will even want to visit the Invictus Games, but it is important to the veteran community. And Invictus is, I'm going to say, probably Harry's most successful project ever, right? So, may as well get it out the way, make plans, and let's pray for the best. Thank you again for the super chat. Okay. What else do we have here? Wait, is that right? Yeah, there we go. So Prince Harry finally receives good news from Britain. Official ruling soon. Sources at the Home Office have indicated that security is now nailed on for Harry. And gosh, I hope this is not just you know, I hope they mean what they say and say what they mean. Prince Harry has finally received a good news from the UK, and the Duke has won his new fight for a publicly funded security detail win in Britain. Again, they're citing the Mail on Sunday. Okay. Oh, do I see Mole there? The Mole said the only thing that could sculper, that's a weird word, sculper, this approval now would be, well, they're mentioning the palace again. Okay. Jennifer Clark, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for being here. Now, let's get to the Sussex Soldier. Let's get to the Sussex Soldier. It's always interesting. Um, some of you guys do not have access to X, formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, there's always some interesting banter taking place at X, formerly known as Twitter. Okay, the Sussex Soldier says the only humble pie Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, is going to eat is the one she makes in her kitchen in California. Two things. They desperately want Meghan to come to the UK. Number two, they want to see her on her knees for them like a slave. That is what the Sussex Soldier has to say. Um, I tell you guys, if this does not pan out, and there's no reason to think that it won't, but if this doesn't pan out, I can guarantee you when they will do everything they can to get the Sussexes over there. And that is when William becomes king so that they can have on record, on film, HD 4K, Meghan doing a curtsy for those two assholes. Um, those two assholes. Those other people. Oh, they would love to get that on record. Oh, they would. They, I mean, just that deference that Meghan refused to give them when she first met them. That is what they are pining for. Anyway, the Sussex Soldier says what they fail to grasp, understand, is that Meghan doesn't live in the UK and doesn't need any forgiveness from haters or from the Brexiteers because she hasn't done anything wrong. She hasn't committed any crime. Her conscience is clean. They spend 24/7 lies and fabricated stories about, I'm sorry, spread, not spend, spread lies and fabricated stories about her. And now they want her to go on her knees for the things they lied and fabricated about her. Anyway, it's no wonder that many of them, her haters, have mental health problems. 95% of her haters are mentally unstable individuals. People who have been made mentally unstable by the British media and their mouthpieces, such as Lancome, Angela Evil, Dan Wooten, Dog Food Eaten, etc. Listen, it is very true that people are so bamboozled. that they are so taken in by the lies from the tabloid media. There was a young man who knocked on the wrong door. I think he was supposed to pick up his cousin or meet his cousin, whatever. He went to the wrong house. The old man opened the door and just started throwing lead at him. Um, Now, what's interesting is, yes, the young man was a black kid, he was a teenager, old white man in his house, armed and ready to take action because he's afraid. He lives alone, right? And then all of a sudden there's this black person at the door. His grandson, the man's grandson, is biracial. And he said his grandfather sits in the house all day, every day, watching Fox News, watching all of this right wing propaganda. And they repeat over and over again how much danger they're in, that the foreigners are coming, that this is happening and that's happening. And so by the time destiny brought the two of them together, he didn't ask any questions. He just, started shooting. That is the effect that the tabloid media has on people that are fragile, that are mentally unstable, which which is why the Sussexes not only require armed security, they deserve armed security. Period. End of. It is their right as members of that family. So, nothing short of that. They deserve to be protected like any other member of the family that is considered a senior royal and in that top 10 position in terms of their proximity to the throne, right? Even Afro Annie, when she's working, she receives police protection. When Harry comes to visit, that's all he's asking for. He's offered to pay for it. Now, this idea that he should not have the right or ability to pay for it is a bunch of nonsense. Take the money. Do not make it a burden of the British taxpayer. But they don't want to do that because maybe that's just too much a reminder that the royals are very expensive and do not pay their own way. Jennifer Clark, I believe I said thank you before, but if not, thank you so much for the super sticker. But I agree, those are some interesting names they have there. If you are not a member of Royal Sussex, do consider membership to Royal Sussex starts at a whopping $4.99. That's how much you'll pay for a cup of coffee in some places. And so all we're asking is that you give up one cup of coffee once a month. It goes a very long way to help support this channel, to help pay for the software and everything else that makes this possible. So give that some consideration if you would please. Again, $4.99 a month is the starting price for the official Royal Sussex membership. Okay. Sussex Soldier posted this, and it was in response to the articles that you see here. Royal family major development for Prince Harry's plans to return to UK nailed on. A source close to the Sussexes claimed the reinstatement of Prince Harry's armed security, blah, blah, blah. Meghan to eat humble pie on UK return. Now that looks like an article from, oh my goodness, The Mirror, right? I think, yeah, that is from The Mirror. Prince Harry and Meghan have not been in the UK together since the Queen's Elizabeth's funeral, but the new government security review could enable their return. Whatever. But this idea that Meghan is going to eat humble pie, not going to happen. Oh, someone says, I don't think it's in Meghan's character to eat humble pie. And if she comes to the UK, humble pie is exactly what's on the menu for her. Like hell it is. Oh my goodness, not the bookmakers. You know, I can barely see that, but let me see. As of last month, the bookmakers were already placing bets on when the Sussex family might visit the UK, with 2026 being the most popular prediction, followed by 2028. However, with the Invictus Games scheduled for Birmingham in the summer of 2027, that year could be the more likely contender. The Invictus Games could serve as a useful distraction for Meghan during a potential visit, suggests Duncan that it could be a PR disaster if she chose to stay away and let Harry attend alone with their children, Archie and Lilibet. Those kids are not coming over there without their mama, okay? They are not going over there without their mama. Huh. All right. So, yes, Megan is not stupid, but that doesn't decide whether or not she shows up or not, okay? Anyway, that was from the Sussex Soldier. Now, here are some more comments from the Sussex Squad. SK says, in my opinion, the last line reads like the palace wants something from Harry. The palace has the power to alter the outcome, like they pulled it before. Yes, we know. Anyway, Harry is getting his security back. According to sources, risk management board members have now decided that the Duke does meet the threshold. Okay. So, anyway, that's a quote from the article. And Cool Black Kind, I think is the name. I don't know if that could cut off or not. But anyway, love the way they have dropped Charlie Boy in it, which they did, saying that it's up to the royal household. If it comes out that there is no approval, everyone will now point to him fully and squarely, which we knew all along that, you know, it has really been up to the monarch. It has really been up to Charles. Even when his mother was queen, it was always Charlie Windsor. Carmela says Prince Harry, the most vilified royal who has had violence incited against him and his wife, may finally have proper security in the UK. Now, the dark part. The only thing that could scupper his approval now would be an intervention from the palace, meaning Charles. So there you have it. It's what most people see as the only potential roadblock is Charlie Windsor. Now, we love Henry VIII, and Henry VIII says if the royals don't have any control over security, why did they first promise the Sussexes security for a year back in 2020? Is the claim Elizabeth made an empty promise? And that is something to think about. That is something to think about. If they have no say over security, then why was that a thing back in 2020? Why did they promise security for a year? That came from the royal household, right? Meaning, of course, those members sitting at the table with Harry. And if I'm correct, I do believe that at the time we didn't know that the bee, the fly, and the wasp, we didn't know that any of them were likely members of Rayback. Did we know that? I don't think Harry knew it. I think that came as a surprise to Harry later on that he was sitting there at the table basically with Rayback. His grandmother was present, his father was present. They had Harry sign a document saying that there would be a year review process. And within that year, that they would keep security and that there would be financial support. That's the document he signed, right? And then suddenly, without warning, that was taken away from him, taken away from his family. That could only mean that the decision was up to Charles. We cannot count the Queen because the Queen was not necessarily the last word. Charles had seized so much power at that point. Harry shared a document saying that the Queen believed that it was imperative that he received robust security. This is about Harry, and they're making it all about Meghan. Thank you, Kavan Sims. That is an excellent point. They pivot back to Meghan every time. It's always about Meghan, how the public will perceive Meghan, what the public thinks of Meghan, what Meghan said this, what Meghan does that. Yep, you're absolutely right. It always pivots right back to Meghan. Yep, very interesting that it happens that way. So Alexis is sowing discord in the such and such says the decision to strip Harry of his security was taken while the Duke of Sussex was a full-time working member of the royal family and plainly still in plainly still in the Raybeck cohort. Okay. They were willing to risk Harry and Archie's lives just to protect, I believe that means Rupert Murdoch or something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that got cut off, but yeah. Yeah. And then there's the article that was, let's see. She told the court. Okay, so Shahid Fatima. What does KC mean? I don't know what that means. For Harry, does that mean his lawyer or barrister or something? Told an initial public part of proceedings, this case is about the right to safety and security of a person. They could not be a right of greater importance to any of us. She told the court Raybeck written policies showed the unlawful, unfair treatment of Harry. The barrister said a crucial part of Raybeck's approach was an analysis carried out by the Risk Management Board, but added In this case, Raybeck chose not to follow its own written policy. Raybeck chose not to do a risk management board risk analysis. Right. I remember that. I do remember that. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Okay. I'm a little dehydrated. So the barrister said a crucial part of Raybeck's approach was the analysis carried out by the risk. Okay, we did that already, right? Ms. Fatima said Raybeck has chosen a far inferior procedure in relation to the critical safeguard built into the policy, claiming it was the first time a Raybeck has ever decided to deviate from this policy in this way. Uh-huh. You know what? Ain't that what I always say? Anytime black people are involved, the rules change. Didn't I say that? It always happens. All you got to do is once a black person is involved, meaning, of course, light skinned Harry, the rules are going to change. It always does. Let me see. The lawyer said Rayback's decision was taken when the Duke was a full time working member of the royal family and plainly still in the Rayback cohort. Ms. Fatima said Rayback has failed to tell Harry, who now lives in North America with wife Meghan and their children, Archie and Lilibeth, that he was not being treated consistently and equally with others, nor why. Rayback has delegated responsibility from the Home Office over the provision of protective security arrangements for members of the royal family and others with involvement from the Metropolitan Police, the Cabinet Office, and the royal household. In a written argument, Ms. Fatima said the impact on the UK reputation, if he was harmed, should have been taken into account. She said Raybeck should have considered the impact that a successful attack on the claimant would have, that is, bearing in mind his status, background, and profile within the royal family, which he was born into, which he will have for the rest of his life, and his ongoing charity work and service to the public. How about that? I'm sorry. I keep trying not to say this, but what a bunch of assholes. I'm sorry. I keep trying not to say that, but it just it just that's what I feel, that we have been dealing with a bunch of a-holes. Terrible people. So let's go to the next one here. Oh, is that right? Oh no, there we go. Sir James 80, is it 80? Eddie? What does KC mean? Did anybody say what KC means? Let me see. I'm looking. Did anybody say what KC means? Anyway, so that's okay. For the Home Office said in a written argument that the Duke has been treated in a lawful, bespoke manner over his security. A lawful has been treated in a lawful, bespoke manner. Well, bespoke means singular, right? That means that he has been singled out. It may be lawful, but that does not mean that it's fair. Oh, it means Casey in the show. That's what it means. Yes, thank you for echoing that because that's King's Council. Thank you so much, Heather Stroud. It means the King's Council. Okay. It is judged to be right in principle that the allocation of finite public resources which result from protective security provided by the state be allocated to individuals who are acting in the interest of the state through their public role. That is such BS. It does not matter. His father is king. His Let me stop banging on this table. His father is king. I don't care whether he's working for the state. Liz Trust is not working for the state. None of the former prime ministers are considered working for the state any longer unless they go back to public office. That is such hooey. Pardon my language. Henry VIII says, why was their security removed before the year was up? Nothing security wise changed. If anything, it got worse. The only thing that changed was Harry and Meghan refused to drop a lawsuit that incredibly included a top aide to William and Kate. Is the claim really the royals didn't have anything to do with that? Come on, Henry VIII. You see what I'm saying? This is why they don't like the Sussex squad, because we're not stupid. You know what I'm saying? There are some very capable people that have done the research, people with credentials, people with degrees, people with positions that have done the work. Let us not forget how the Sussex squad was established, a name which I freely throw about, but really, there is no leader of the Sussex squad. There is no head of the Sussex squad. There were a bunch of women, mostly women of African descent, who saw another woman of African descent being completely excoriated by the press, being electronically lynched day after day for something that could be as innocuous as eating an avocado or touching their stomach. Or it could have been something as simple as closing a car door. And it was treated like high treason in comparison to other members of that family. And especially the whole thing about Meghan is a bully. There are well known documented cases of people being mistreated by members of the royal family. Now, upon discovery, surely that would have become part of any case where they're trying to claim that only one individual in that family has ever had an issue. There is a documented evidence of Sophie Wessex. Okay, she's not a blood royal, but that did not prevent her from putting her finger in the face of one of her royal protection and shouting this grown adult man down in full view of the public. She did that. Or how about Charles losing 11 members of his household staff, the gardeners, 11 that left because they didn't like the way they were treated? Yes, thank you. Duty of care. It doesn't matter to me whether Harry is there or here or wherever. He is still the son of a head of state. I don't know why that never comes up. It's so rare that they mention, and even people with the best of intentions, they do not drive that point. I don't know that any head of state, I don't know of any head of state, especially when it comes to, let's say, the president of the United States. I don't argue about the price of protection. I don't discriminate whether it's that occupant and his family or the next family. That is something that should be automatic. Just like the fact that the royals are supposed to live in opulence while other people are going hungry, while other people can't even afford to heat their homes. It has been considered vital to the national interest that a select few people live in the biggest homes and pay nothing for it. So if you can tolerate that, you can protect the son of the king and his family. I don't care if they live in Timbuktu. His father is king. He is a veteran. He is a high profile target of any wacko out there. Brazen Hussy says, the blatant lies the royal family and representatives for the royal family tell the public on a regular basis is crazy. But crazier is that people believe them every time and make excuses for them when the lies are exposed. The fact that people see them as a pillar of good morals is mind blowing. Well said. And Henry VIII goes on to say, Royalists remind me of MAGA here in the States. They wait for the royals to tell them how to think, what to say. Isn't that scary? Isn't that scary? They wait for the royals to tell them how to think and what to say. Kavan Slim says, off topic, but who is Omid Scobie and why does the British media fear him? Well, Omid Scobie is a former, I believe he was a Royal Rota. Omid, who is of mixed race himself, what is Omid? Is he Arab and English? Is that right? His father is Arab and his mother English, I think was the way that is. Anyway, Omid Scobie went rogue. First, Omid Scobie refused to do the hypercritical analysis of the Sussex on a daily basis. He slowly but methodically retreated from that type of coverage. And then, of course, over time, Omid Scobie began to call out other members of the Royal Rota, famously calling out Angela Levin, and basically he was doing his job properly, fair and balanced. And of course, he's written two books. He co-authored a book called what was it? The name of that book? Escaping Narnia or something like that. Freedom. We're free. Thank God Almighty, we free at last. Whatever the name of that book was. And then, of course, Endgame. So Omid Scobie now lives in the US. He was driven out of the UK with a lot of threats. His family was threatened. Um, he called out the royal family in a way that no other Rhoda member has done before or since, as far as I'm concerned. He's the one who made it official who is considered to be the royal racist. And now, of course, now that he's in the US and he's the what do you call it? Um, I believe he's going to produce, or he's anyway. He has some kind of a deal with one of the networks to produce a show based on a royal family or something like that, royal spin or whatever they call it, where someone who was a member of the Rhoda gets a job in the US as a royal reporter or something like that. So, anyway, it should be interesting. But yeah, they fear him because he has credibility, because he has worked with Hoghead Pierce Morgan and has even did he testify against Pierce Morgan about the what was that, listening to the phone messages or whatever? Yeah, so yeah, they have good reason to be afraid of him because he's not afraid to tell the truth. But yeah, if you like, I will do a thing with Omid when I'm better prepared, and then we can chronologically go over some of the more interesting points of Omid Scobie's exodus from the UK. But thank you for asking the question. Okay. Oh, Zandy Sussex. This is very helpful. Zandy Sussex actually highlighted parts of Spare. Friendly reminder that the Sandringham Agreement included security for Harry and Meghan. This was unilaterally canceled, and their location leaked to the British tabloids by Charles and Willie, allegedly, in order to force Harry and Meghan back as slaves and scapegoats. So, um, how does this go? Well, there you have. I'll just do what's highlighted in green. Meg asked me one night, "You don't think they'd ever pull our security, do you?" Never. Not in this climate of hate and not after what happened to my mother. Again, Harry says, not in this climate of hate and not after what happened to my mother. Harry never believed that they would take his lifetime of security away. Harry has had a security officer in his presence most of his life, adult or child. There has been a security officer present. It says here, I kissed his chubby little cheeks, tickled him, then glanced down at my phone to see the text from the head of our security team, Lloyd. He needed to see me. I carried Archie across the garden and handed him to Meg, then went across the soggy grass to the cottage where Lloyd and other bodyguards were staying. We sat on a bench, both of us wearing puffer jackets, uh, waves rolling gently in the background. Lloyd told me that our security was being pulled. He and the whole team had been ordered to evacuate. Surely they can't. I would tend to agree, but they are. So much for the year of transition. The threat level for us, Lloyd said, was still higher than for that of nearly every other royal, equal to that assigned the Queen. Yet, the word had come down that there was to be no arguing. I rang Pa. He wouldn't take my calls. Just then, I got a text from Willie. Can you speak? Great. I was sure my older brother, after our recent walk in the Sandringham garden, would be sympathetic, that he'd step up. He said it was the government's decision, nothing to be done. Now that's from Willie. It was the government's decision, nothing to be done. Now you know what? Let's remember this. Let's remember that line because once Charles goes to that storm cellar down in the basement of St. George Chapel, will that still be William's position when he's king? That is the government, nothing to be done. We now know better that it's not just the government, and there is something that can be done. But will William pretend otherwise when he becomes king? My guess is yes, that William is quite capable of being petty. I hope that that's not the case. I hope that he will see to it that his brother receives proper protection, that he will use his influence as the monarch to keep his brother safe, no matter how much he regrets the appearance of his brother on his turf, causing embarrassment because William and Kate refuses to work because they are two of the laziest people on the face of the earth. But I hope that that won't interfere with sound judgment. VS Speaks Royally. I saw you earlier and I forgot to say hello. And hello to you too, Hazel Jones, Compton Cali Gal, Vanessa Jones, Felton LaShawn. Hello and welcome to all. All right. So, we're going to get into this next. Something I saw. But let me see. William is a weak weasel. Agreed. Cain and Abel, clearly. Let me see. What else do we have here? Okay. Okay. Now, if that doesn't tell everyone that Harry and his family are not safe, even with security, Willie can tell the security to not protect them. Well, I'm not going to go as far as to assume that the security would um, accept an order like that they would be present and leave a family vulnerable. I don't want to go there. Um, let's just pray that they have enough humanity to do their jobs. I know it's weird, right? Who does that? Yes, Willie Boy is petty and vindictive. You know, one of the reasons for the whole ceremony of a coronation is supposed to be transformative in a very spiritual way. Now, there is nothing to indicate that that William will be transformed by a religious calling like that, right? Because he's not a very religious person. Um, but we have to have faith. Don't ever give up on faith. Don't ever lose hope. Don't ever write anybody off as hopeless. Anybody, no matter how awful they seem to be. We should never write anyone off. Now, it doesn't mean that he won't live the rest of his life being the same horrible person that he's always been. But we still should have hope that when the time comes that he'll do the right thing. Because if it were the other way around, that will be what people would expect. If it were you or I, we would hope that, let's say it's our own family member that we're having trouble with, we can only hope and pray that they would do the right thing. So I know it's not likely. I know it doesn't look good. And we are talking about William, who took a 9-iron to the cranium. But if we don't have hope, what do we have, right? If we don't have faith, what do we have? If we don't have faith, we shouldn't leave the house. So I'm going to go with that for now until we know better. But sometimes that's all you have. That's all you have is hope and prayers. Yes, thank you. That's it. A religious epiphany. Let's just hope that there's some religious epiphany. That is the whole point of that ceremony, is to bring out the monarch's higher self, a heightened sense of awareness of the gravity of what they say and what they do. And I know we're talking about William, but you know what I'm saying? We had hopes like that for the current occupant of the White House, and he has let us down time and time again. But we hoped that once he got there that he would change. He did not. He only got worse. There was no epiphany. It was one letdown after the other, one corruption after the other. But it, got to leave it to God. Let live and let God. Yes, Carol Mentor, I believe that too. I believe that is true. Okay, so Harry walks away. Now, this is an old headline. Harry walks away. He certainly did, which is interesting that they said that then, because it has been repeated recently that Harry is not likely to ever go back to that charity. And you know what? There may not be a charity to return to. Full stop. There may be no charity to return to. I do believe that Sentebale is done. It seems to exist in name only. And I'm going to show you why I believe that to be true. So, someone mentioned it, that Sentebale is begging for money and depending upon what do they call that? Crowdfunding. They're depending upon crowdfunding to raise money. They have little or no access to big donors. That is a thing of the past. They are cooked. I mean, they have completely lost their way, and it doesn't seem to be any chance for redemption. Least of all, as long as Sophie is there, the not a doctor Sophie, as long as she's there. Now, Celibici has an article which I'm going to share with you. Okay, and that's the wrong article. I don't need the intruder. This is what I need. There's absolutely no way Prince Harry would ever return to Sentebale. In March of last year, Prince Harry and Lesotho's Prince Seeiso resigned as patrons of Sentebale. They resigned in protest alongside the majority of Sentebale's board, all because of Sophie Chindaka, that is, Sentebale's chairwoman. Soon, the whole story came out. Chindaka was and is a self-dealing grifter who was spending lots of Sentebale's funds on various fundraising schemes, which went nowhere. The board lost confidence in her leadership and tried to force her to resign. Instead of resigning, she threw an international tantrum, ran to Britain's Charity Commission, and claimed that the board and the patrons were harassing her and bullying her. She then concocted a bizarre story about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and how she hated that Harry organized fundraising polo matches, and she especially hated that Meghan attended her husband's polo matches. Instead of treating Chindaka with a well deserved skepticism, the British media platformed her lies and merrily gloated about how Harry would be so hurt to see the destruction of a charity he co founded. Oy vey. In the second half of 2025, Sentebale began falling apart under Chindaka's leadership. She appointed several sycophantic board members, and she's being advised by one of Prince William's big allies. None of that helped. She effectively mothballed Sentebale's Children's Center and looted Sentebale's reserves. She closed down the charity's London office and fired everyone there. She also canceled all polo fundraisers. Big surprise. Well, the Times of London has an update, some highlights. Ready for the highlights? Here we go. Harry will never return to Sentebale. The HIV/AIDS charity's annual accounts says its programs will shrink by the end of 2026 if efforts to find fresh funding are not successful. The idea that Harry was ever going to return has been completely extinguished. A source close to the charity said, "There's absolutely no way now. It's all too tarnished." Next, Sophie has fired people in Botswana too. The charity recently made a round of redundancies in Botswana. On top of job losses in London, as part of a global restructuring to reduce costs by £1 million, sources claims one of the 5 staff in Botswana have been made redundant, including the country director, Ketlogewe Monshiwa, and staff said they feared there was a significant cash flow problem. That's a monumental understatement. They fear a significant cash flow problem. That seems to follow Sophie wherever she goes, doesn't it? Chindaka was looting the charity as early as the last 2 quarters of 2024. Published accounts show Sentebale ran through almost all of its reserves as the row deepened through 2024. Monthly income fell by a quarter, and the amount of cash in the bank, once immediate debts are taken into account, had fallen to £207,000 in December 2024, down from £1.5 million compared to the 16 months earlier. Sentebale admitted in the document that it was close to the minimum reserve level. Next, a cash flow problem. A source in Botswana said there was a real cash flow problem, and another said the charity's operations in Lesotho were getting into the red, adding it's not working at all. They described the workload for those left after the redundancies as unbearable. The charity laid off its London staff early in 2025, and according to locals, effectively mothballed the Momahato Children's Center, its headquarters in Lesotho. The charity denied this, saying the center remains fully operational. Next, no money coming in. No money coming in. A hit to its finances came with the end of the Sentebale Polo Cup, once the charity's top fundraiser, raising £740,000 a year. The event has not taken place for 2 years. Sentebale's leadership said the charity was too reliant on fundraising linked to Harry, and claimed to have made progress in beginning to diversify its funding base. Yet, as the charity suffered financially, it gave an inflation busting pay raise of 6.5% to staff, including executives, taking the chief executive's pay to £138,267. Now, that is from the Times of London. Now, Sophie Chandaka is such a despicable person, and her actions have done irreparable harm to Lesotho and to the children who used to be supported by Sentebale. One of the things going unsaid in the British media is that Sophie's corporate speak justification for diversifying fundraising and Sentebale's needs to get out of the Sussex's business have blown up in her face. For example, Sophie was throwing tantrums about wealthy people like Serena Williams attending polo matches. Most chairwomen would thank the Sussexes for attracting such big names and make personal appeals to Serena and other bigwigs for donations. Sophie also lied and claimed that the polo matches were not a sustainable fundraising method, and that Sentebale needed to fundraise within Africa alone. Rather than seek donations from wealthy Americans and Europeans. Her frantic lies never made any sense. Anyway, obvious story is obvious. Of course, Harry isn't coming back. Lord have mercy. How delusional. Crazy. That is one wacky, crazy person. The thing that made Sentebale possible, the polo fundraiser and donations from wealthy Americans. And what else was that? And donations from wealthy people in Britain. Europeans, wealthy Americans and Europeans. Her frantic lies never made any sense. Anyway, obvious story is obvious. Of course, Harry isn't coming back. I mean, you just could not make up something like that. You just couldn't make up something like that. If we had not seen this for ourselves unfolding on a day to day basis last year, it wouldn't have seemed possible. If she had not gone on to that talk show or that interview that she had with Uncle Ben or whatever his name is, we wouldn't have thought it possible. But we saw it. We watched her maneuver. And to think, what really gets me is I was so proud to see this woman of African descent in such a prominent role for a charity that is has been established for Africans, for children, for outreach, for education, educating people about HIV/AIDS, seeing to testing, helping the children that have been orphaned because of that disease. And it was Sophie who said that they needed to, let me make sure I get this right. She the intent was to portray AIDS as no longer a death sentence, right? That they needed to learn how they needed to do something with the global economy. No, no, no. It was the sustainable economy, that instead of focusing on educating and outreach, I believe she had in mind that they should help to um, educate people on how they can be a part of the renewable and sustainable economy. It was something like that. And right then and there, I said, you know what? This person is not right in the head. And one of the ways to prove that is just simply look at the rates of mortality in those communities where Sentebale was established. More people are likely to die in relation to HIV and AIDS than any other cause of death. But Sophie said that was not the case any longer, and that type of outreach was no longer paramount. It was no longer the most important thing for them to do. She had all of these broad and sweeping ideas about how Sentebale could be all things to everybody. And at the same time, it appeared that she was using Sentebale to bolster some private enterprise that she had that basically brought, I couldn't even describe it to you. And one of the reasons why is because that whole um, website has been wiped clean from the internet. But it was a way to, was it nanotechnology? Oh my goodness, I don't recall, but it was something that she set up with her brother. She had these people that were board members or whatever and directors of something, something such. Um, I don't believe that there was ever a physical office that I'm aware of. And that these people who she knew from other places in her life were paid with Sentebale money as advisors. They had advisory positions on how to bring in more money. Well, that appears to be a waste because they ain't got no money. They ain't got nothing else because of those people. Yes, and she wanted a 300,000 pound salary for a volunteer position. She was trying to turn a volunteer position into a permanent position, a paid position rather, where she would draw a salary for, I think it was $360,000 US. Was it 400,000 US? Whatever it was something outrageous. she was fighting to stay in a position to claim this position that was completely voluntary. Now, don't forget, she had also been on the board before. She had been on the board for years. And there she is on television, claiming that Harry is a bully and that the Sussex PR machine had gone after her at scale and that she was the victim and that there was misogynoir and all of these things. Meghan and her famous friend, meaning Serena, had somehow caused problems with the choreography on the stage. Now, last year, I compared her to Game of Thrones, and I made a few images to reinforce the idea that she was doing this whole little Game of Thrones thing. But look at this. Unfortunately, we have had to temporarily disable comments on this platform due to the harmful effects of recent targeted online harassment. Our focus remains on our mission and our communities we serve. We will not engage in misinformation or personal attacks here, which is exactly what she did here. Misinformation and personal attacks. Now, all of a sudden, she ain't about that. Thank you to those who continue to support and follow the work of Sentebale. Now, January the 1st, this year, January the 1st, as we step into a new year, we thank our supporters, partners, and friends for walking this journey with us. Your belief in our work continues to make a meaningful difference in the lives of children and communities we serve. May 2026 brings renewed hope. Girl, that's all you got is hope because you ain't got no money. Shared purpose and opportunity to create lasting impact together. Happy New Year. Wishing you a special year ahead marked by moments of joy and prosperity. Like I say, hope springs eternal. If you give up hope and prayers, what have you got? Now, there was only one comment, and that comment came from guess where? Sentebale. We look forward to continuing this work with you and building stronger, more resilient communities in the year to come. We wish you and your loved ones a year filled with health, kindness, and possibility. New Year's 2026, hashtag Sentebale, hashtag Lesotho Botswana. Mm-hmm. Girl, keep it up. Keep it up, girl. Keep it up. Now, let's go to the next one. It just goes from bad to worse, I promise you. So over here, notice the date, January 3rd. If you're reflecting on the year that was and the impact you want to carry forward, consider closing it with an act of generosity. Woo! Donate directly to the country of your choice or give via Give Match where your contributions will be matched for even greater impact. Click the link below and give care that lasts. Now, apparently, somebody turned on the comments because it says here, not y'all begging on X. Congratulations, y'all played yourselves. Miss I love it. Not y'all begging on X. Congratulations. Y'all played yourselves. Um and that's the only comment. There is very little. Look at the amount of traffic. 16 views. You see that? 2 likes and 16 views. Not a lot of traffic. They don't even get traffic anymore. Let's go back to that other one. Look at that. Uh, I believe the one comment came from Sentebale. 17 likes, 383 views since January 1st. That is really sad. That means that practically the entirety of the Sussex squad has moved on. If you guys ever tried to establish how big is the Sussex squad, just think about the level of traffic that used to go through this Twitter account, and now it's down to a trickle. Now it's down to a trickle. I mean, the Sussex squad has moved on. It's unfortunate and it's sad for those children, but there's just no guarantee that the money will make it to where it's supposed to go. If you're reflecting on the year that was, let me see, is that the same as the other one? Oh, yeah, we just did this one. Not y'all begging on X. Not y'all begging on X. Girl, not y'all begging on X. That's what they doing, y'all. Now, what does this one says? We would like to wish those celebrating a Merry Christmas. This one is from Christmas Day. From all of us at Sentebale. Too bad nobody's looking at it. May this season bring you a moments of joy, peace and togetherness with those you hold dear. Your support make it possible for us to continue caring for children and communities in Lesotho, Botswana, and for that we are truly grateful. May your day and the rest of the festive season be filled with warmth, hope, and kindness. You're welcome. You're welcome. You ain't getting no money, but you're welcome. Now, let's go back even further. This is from Christmas Eve. For many families celebrating Christmas today, today will be a time of gathering, reflection, and quiet moments of gratitude and a pause on the eve of Christmas Day. It's also a powerful reminder that care is not only reserved for our loved ones, but send me some money because our accounts are empty. I'm sorry. It says, but one can extend beyond our own homes to, and then it's something else after that. And then, of course, take a look at December 22nd. As families gather and celebrations begin, thousands of children in Lesotho and Botswana still need the money that they used to get from the Polo fundraiser. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me clean my glasses. Thousands of children in Lesotho and Botswana are still facing daily challenges, no thanks to Sophie, that don't pause for the festive season. No thanks to Sophie. Your donations of care can go a long way in making a difference in their lives by donating as little as $5. You can blah, blah, blah. Again, no thanks to Sophie. And she is still there. She is still clinging to hope that Harry is going to come riding in on a white pony, wearing a white polo uniform with a white helmet. Yes, he's going to come galloping into Botswana and Lesotho, and that he is going to bring bags and bags of gold coins, throwing them in the air, hoping that Sophie can catch each and every one of them to save herself and at some point Sentebale. So let me say this. It is only fair that I say, do what your conscience tells you to do. I would never discourage anyone from making their donation to whatever charity. And as far as I know, we have not received any alternative charities to serve that community. But Sophie Chindaka is an embarrassment. She, instead of celebrating the fact that this woman of African descent who lives mostly in Britain, I don't even think she has a residence established any place outside of Britain, as far as I know. She might have a place in the US, I don't know. But Sophie, who has a lot of promise, she really brought herself up, as they say. She proved to be very capable, but she seems very dishonest. And it's unfortunate that an important charity like Sentebale has this person at its helm, and that she and she alone has made decisions that has wrecked the entire thing. And so while people may laugh at Harry, people may criticize Harry, and also some of those derangers are so gleeful at this outcome, they don't give a damn about those children, not in the least bit. Just like they didn't give a damn about their princess, Catherine of Wales. They didn't care about her. They don't care about how thin she is. They don't care about that massive scar on her head. They don't care about the fact that she was missing for 172 days without any confirmed sightings whatsoever. They do not care. Because of their insanity, because of their mentally fragile states, all they care about is, will this hurt Harry? Will this hurt Meghan? Are those children real? That's all they care about. It's not that they care for anything positive, it's that they're determined to see some type of failure and collapse. And I dare say, even worse than that, for the Sussexes, which is a real shame. And Sophie has fit herself into that scenario quite easily. A complete lack of character. But wait, I got more. I look at that picture on the left side and I think about the pride that I felt seeing her in this very important role. A Black woman helping Black people, Black children, families. Who cares where the money comes from? But this is a charity where she was right there at the head of it. She's the face of the charity. She represents them globally. And she dropped the ball. She didn't drop it. I'm just saying that to be nice, but she drove that charity into the ditch. She drove it into a ditch. And at some point, she's going to leave it there. If the charity even exists this time next year. And look at her jockeying for position to get as close to the golden goose. The goose that laid the golden egg, Prince Harry. And so, out of frustration, she declared that the charity was too dependent upon Harry. No, you were too dependent upon Harry. You were too dependent upon him, because whatever she had planned, I don't think she had a chance to see it all the way through, because the money got up and walked away before she could get any further. I don't know how she expected to get away with it. I don't know what kind of compensation that there may be on the other side of it if this was someone else's idea. But again, it's the children that will suffer. I repeat, the mortality rate in those communities that Sentebale served, you are more likely to die from illnesses related to HIV/AIDS. That has not changed. But Sophie declared that that was not the case and that they need to diversify, that they need to go to the Americans and to the Europeans, and they should solicit funding so that they could get involved in more of the sustainable um, what do you call it? The sustainable economies, the economic sustainability stuff. And did she say anything? No, I don't think she said AI. But anyway, that was her idea, was to abandon the very tenets that created Sentebale and to go in a completely different direction because she says so. Nothing else, but because she says so. Harry and Prince Say So created that charity. Look at this right here. I'm no British body language expert, but our sister in Christ has a favorite. Sure does. His name is Prince Harry. And if you take a look on the right side there, well, that needs no explanation. She is literally waited with bated breath for Harry to arrive so that she can stand next to him and try to somehow cling to his influence to help her big herself up on the global stage. If it wasn't for Prince Harry, I doubt if we'd ever have known who Sophie Chindaka was. I doubt it. Very doubtful. She has so much promise, but her lack of character is what has done her in, is what has done Sentebale as a complete lack of character. It's unfortunate that she was able to hide the real Sophie until she became the chairman. And once she got a hold of those bank accounts, oh my goodness, it was off to the races. It was off to the races. Zandy Sussex said last year, the real issue is that nothing adds up. We know a hypocrite and a fraud when we see one. Fake doctorate? Check. Cries decolonization, yet happily accepted a member of the Order of the British Empire? Yeah, she has one of those awards, an OBE. Has lived in Western countries longer than she's lived in African countries, yet claims a superior right to speak on behalf of African communities she knows nothing about. Left a trail of debts from her own failed business attempts, but is now an expert. And lastly, claims she's all about good governance, yet spent unauthorized £600,000. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. Thank you, Zandy Sussex. Meanwhile, this was the last post that I can find of Prince Harry on Sentebale's Twitter account. And that was December the 14th, 2024. Last night, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, joined is at Kai Smith Gallery for an executive VIP reception launching a friend exhibition to benefit, guess what? Sentebale. You know it. A benefit for Sentebale. See, that's not a polo match, is it? This is some of the other fundraising that has taken place. Celebrating the power of art and philanthropy, proceeds from the purchase of the stunning collection will support Sentebale's work with children and young people in Southern Africa. Friend opens to the public December 14th. RSVP for this free event at kaismithgallery.com. Shut the front door. Shut the front door. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of those people would have shown up regardless. But we know, without a doubt, that Harry's presence made all the difference in the world. We know this. Look at what just happened in Aspen. They had some kind of event in Aspen. Remember, I kept showing all those pictures? That was the biggest turnout that they ever had. Mariah Carey was there. There were a whole bunch of celebrities there. But it was when Harry mounted that horse and went galloping back and forth across that polo field that it made the papers, and it brought so much more attention to a worthy cause. And if that is how you raise money, then damn it, that's how you raise money. Sophie wasn't just disappointed, she was angry that Harry was not boxed in by her trickery. She was furious at him for leaving because she had plans for him. She had plans for Harry, and nothing that she had planned works without him. Founding patrons. Those are the founding patrons. At its core, Sentebale supports the health and well-being of children and young people. That purpose, Sentebale's purpose, continues to guide us all each and every day, even through this global health pandemic. Speaking, of course, of the global pandemic. But this is the cost of choosing the wrong person to chair Sentebale. They could not have seen this coming because Sophie's credentials looked pretty solid, not to mention that she had been on the board herself for a long time. So there was no way to prevent this from happening. You just could not have seen it coming. And let's face it, there has been some very, very disgusting things that have happened with high profile women of African descent in the United States, in the UK, and just about any place you find a woman of African descent that has a high profile position. It seems to bring out the worst in some right wing people for whatever reason. And in this climate, in that atmosphere where there are so many people who want to destroy an intelligent, well educated Black woman, Sophie sets back a movement that has been years in the making, where Black women have reached some of the highest places in society. And she has really put a bad spin on things. But she's only one person, and hopefully she will quickly be forgotten about and the world could move on. Well, there's a lot of very capable, very well educated Black women with lots of credentials that could have filled that role and done a hell of a job of it. But unfortunately, she was the closest person to that role, and who knew she would take such advantage of it? It's really sad, though. Okay, but played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. Absolutely. Mm. A snake in the grass waiting to pounce, but the bait escaped. Didn't he, though? Nothing works without Harry. Nothing. And I'm pretty sure that um, if Harry would have walked away under any other circumstance, that there would have been more care and provisions made for Sentebale in the future. And of course, no Harry, no um, Nacho. You know, Nacho's not a founder. I don't think Nacho's ever been on the board or anything like that, but he was definitely committed to the cause. Yes, thank you, Black Lily. We didn't even know that that was a thing. We had no idea that that was a thing. Okay, so love that picture on the left, right? That is Ted Sarando's um, Netflix, big boss at Netflix. Great photo of him and his wife. It looks to me like they are in either Lake Como or Venice or something, but whatever it is, what a nice, handsome couple. He is one of the reasons why my Netflix account has been active all this time. I think I've had that account since maybe 2010 or 2011. And I don't know how much I paid into it, but I have not interrupted my service at all. And because of the Sussexes, of course, I will continue to support Netflix. Oh, so we're going to end with a few interesting things, you know, like we did last night. Check it out. Guess who's on vacation, you guys? Can anybody guess which famous figure from the art world finally took a vacation? Anybody? I'll wait. Look who's taking a vacation. A well needed vacation. Yes, Mona Lisa. There are no prizes, but yes, Mona Lisa has finally, after all these hundreds of years, she has finally taken a vacation. Oh, I see you got it too, huh? Oh, it's a few of you all that got it. All right. There's a little delay, so I have no reason to believe that you all hadn't gotten those in there. Uh, if you don't feel like praying, force it because something is also forcing you not to pray. Ain't that deep? Ain't that deep? Come on now. That's pretty deep, ain't it? If you don't feel like praying, force it because something is also forcing you not to pray. Huh. Take that into 2026. Yes, every so often you come across something so deep that you just have to share it. So I'm sharing it. As a matter of fact, speaking of share it, there was one thing that I meant to share and I didn't get around to it, but I'm going to share it right now. What's the most important thing you've done this year? Survived. I meant to share that with you guys around New Year's, but well, last year. But I forgot. Yes, what's the most important thing you've done this year? Survived. Hello, survived. Very important. Um, be careful when you're out in public. Sometimes you think that you're doing something to enhance your experience at an art gallery, but instead you may inadvertently find yourself making fun of someone. Huh? I'm just saying, be careful because you may think that you can better appreciate the artwork, but what you're doing is you're offending someone who probably you may be offending someone and you don't even know it. So I'm just saying, think about it. You know, Kate Middleton does that a lot, don't you? Where she had that head listing to one side. She does that a lot. I could see someone standing behind Kate Middleton at an art gallery and getting all confused. Kate displays subtle compassion with carefully curated new look. You know, that's a artist rendering of the official Wales family cat. The cat has been mimicking Kate all these years, and even the cat can't help it. So I know I'm so bad. Yeah, but anyway, the kids saw the older gentleman looking at that painting, and they thought, well, if you're going to appreciate it, well, anyway, you see that. Uh, to those young people that are constantly looking at your cell phones, be careful. Anastasia, Isabella. Hey, Anastasia, it's been a long time. Huh? Is this not poignant? uh, you know, those kids are so involved with their cell phones that they did not realize that they are no longer amongst the living. Let that be a lesson. Make sure you're paying attention. I don't know how they got there. Was it a truck? Were they all in the same car? Was one of them driving and looking at their phone? I don't know. But just be careful. Just in case you can't make it out, it says, hey, when did we die? And how about this one? There's a business that is operated by raccoons. And one of the raccoons says, I'm headed to the dumpster. Anyone want anything? I think this is my favorite. I like that one. And of course, are you the new English teacher? Yes, I are. uh, okay. Okay. And I think this is the last one. A lot of people think that that means etc., right? But it actually means end of thinking capacity. So, yes, there is the classical, what is it, Latin term, etc. But here it means end of thinking capacity. I think that's what it means in modern times is that it's the end of thinking capacity. You have run out of words, so you just say, etc. Anyway, folks, we are done for today. Here's a little artwork on the way out. I have two artworks to share with you. Isn't that beautiful? It's so tranquil. Now, check this one out. I like the seasons, you know, it's like all of the seasons or whatever, or lighting conditions, whatever. Anyway, thanks everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Royal Sussex. Thank you, everyone who has a membership, especially you long term members. It has been a pleasure. Oh, Cynthia Henderson, you're quite welcome. Always glad to share those. Mm-hmm. All right. Good night, Mary H. Good night, Heather Stroud, Connie Balmer, Carolyn Mentor, Angela M., Lydia Washington, Cookies and Creams, Antoinette Kennedy, Anastasia, Simone. Wow, 2 hours and 27 minutes. It doesn't even seem like it, does it? My goodness. Anyway, love you guys. Good night, and I will see you all tomorrow. Hey, are you guys familiar with the cranberry dream? What is it? The cranberry dream bars that they have at the Starbucks? Those cranberry cheesecake bars? Is cranberry cheese baked with like a graham cracker crust? Well, you know they only come out at Christmas time, right? I was in the Starbucks and I bought the last two boxes. I put one in the refrigerator. I'm sorry, in the freezer. But the cranberry bars are so good. And anyway, I made sure I bought the last two. So if you like those cranberry bars, make haste. Try to get to Starbucks before they run out. You can buy the box of them. I think there's 6 in a box. You can buy the box of them, and you can freeze them and save them for later on. Yes, they are delicious, right? Well, I was so happy that I turned to the young women that were working at the Starbucks. I said, and I heard him exclaim as he walked out of sight, I bought the last of the cranberry bliss bars, and to all a good night. That's how happy I was. So I'll say it to you all. And I heard him exclaim as he walked out of sight, he bought the last of the cranberry bliss bars, and to all a good night.